Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope you all are well. I am Muhammad Altafur Rahman, lecturer in Zoology. Welcome to my online class. Let's go next discussion. Here you can see a plant and a human being. They exchange gases between them. I think everyone can understand the process. It is a common process, occurs in all living organisms. So, I will discuss about human physiology, chapter 5, breathing and respiration. Today's topic is the different parts of human respiratory system. I hope all of you will listen this lecture attentively. At first, we should know the definition of respiration. The word respiration comes from the Latin word respira, which means to breathe. Respiration is a metabolic process that occurs in all organisms. It is considered a biochemical process that occurs within the cells of organisms. In this process, the energy is produced by the breakdown of glucose, which is further used by cells in various functions. It is a chemical reaction that happens in all living cells, including both plant and animal cells. It is the way that energy is released from glucose so that all the other chemical processes needed for life can happen. So, we can easily define respiration like this. Respiration is a biochemical process wherein the living cells of an organism produce energy by taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide from the oxidation of complex organic substances. You can see in the slide the reaction which occurs during respiration process in the cell. C6H12O6 oxidized and produces energy, carbon dioxide, water and heat. Respiration is a very important to exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the body, to maintenance blood pH by eliminating carbon dioxide, and to maintain temperature of the body by removing some heat through exhaled air. Respiratory system. The organs which is involved in this process jointly form the respiratory system, which help us to breathe. And we know that lungs is the main respiratory organ of human being. The road or passage in which the air enters the lungs from the environment and the air flows out of the lungs to the environment is called respiratory passage. Different parts of respiratory system. there are various parts of respiratory system such as anterior nostrils, vestibule, nasal cavity, posterior nostrils, nasopharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchus, and lungs. For the convenience of the description, the different parts of the respiratory system are divided into three zones or three regions. First one is air intake and discharge zone, which includes anterior nostrils, vestibule, nasal cavity, posterior nostrils, nasopharynx, and larynx. Second one is air transport zone, which includes trachea and bronchus. And the third one, respiratory zone, which includes only lungs. Now I am discussing about all of the parts. First one, anterior nostrils. It is the first part of the respiratory parts, and it has two openings in front of the nose and is called as anterior nostrils. Function: the air entering into the body through these anterior nostrils. The next part of anterior nostrils is vestibule. Which is lined by skin that wears short, thick hairs. Function: the hairs act like filters, and that's why germs cannot easily enter into the respiratory tract. The next part is nasal cavity. The nasal cavity with its adjacent spaces is lined by a respiratory mucosa. Typically, the mucosa of the nose contains mucus secreting glands. Nasal cavity subdivided into a left and right canal by a thin medial cartilaginous and bony wall, the nasal septum. Function: to warm, to moisturize and filter air entering the body before it reaches the lungs. The next part of the nasal cavity is posterior nostrils. Posterior nostrils are two openings found at the back of the nasal passage between the nasal cavity and the throat. Function: to transfer the air inhaled by the nostrils and purified by the nasal cavity down into the nasopharynx. The next part is nasopharynx. The nasopharynx posteriorly extends up to the anterior part of the larynx and forms a single channel. From here, alimentary duct and respiratory ducts proceeds separately. Function: the air entered into the pharynx passes to trachea through nasopharynx. The next part of the nasopharynx is larynx. It is also called the voice box. It is a tube-like structure supported by cartilage. There are several cartilage structures which make up the larynx and give its structure. Of them, the thyroid cartilage is the largest one, and it is very clear in male and is called Adam's apple. Epiglottis is one of the cartilage pieces of this larynx. Function: it prevents food from entering lower respiratory tract. It serves as a sphincter in transmitting air from the nasopharynx to the trachea. It is also creating sounds for speech. The next part is trachea. Trachea is also called windpipe. It is a thin walled tube that passes through the neck on ventral side of esophagus. It is supported by C-shaped cartilaginous rings which are incomplete dorsally. They keep the trachea open. Functions: it conducts air between larynx and bronchi. The C-shaped rings of the trachea prevents the collapse and also provide a clear airway for air to enter and exit the lung. The next part of the trachea is bronchus. The trachea divides into two branches, one leading to each lung, and known as bronchi. The right bronchus is slightly smaller than the left one, and the bronchus enter into the two lungs. One is right lung and the other is left lung. Each bronchiole, which is created from the bronchus, smaller part, is divided again and again and forms alveolar duct. The inflated end of the alveolar duct forms the alveolus, and alveolus is the structural and functional unit of the lungs. The whole tracheal system is similar to the branch of a tree, many branches, so that it can generally be called a respiratory tree. Function of the bronchus: to carry air to the right and left lungs. Last one, lungs. The next part of the bronchus is lungs. The lungs are a pair of cone-shaped organs placed one on either side within the thorax. Superior portion of lungs is known as apex, and inferior portion is known as base. Each lung is covered by double layer peritoneum called pleural membrane. Outer layer is known as parietal layer and the inner layer is called visceral layer. In between the two layers, pleural cavity is present, and this pleural cavity contains pleural fluid, which fluid is also known as serous fluid. right lung is divided right and left, both lungs divided into many lobes. The right lung has 3 lobes, but the left one has only 2. Each lobe is further divided and form smaller lobules, whereas the right lung has 10 lobules and the left one has 8 lobules. Alveolus is the structural and functional unit of the lungs. Function: the exchange of gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide, between the blood circulatory system and the environment takes place in the lung. So for today, inshallah, in the next class I will discuss about the structure of alveolus and the process of gaseous exchange in the lung. Stay safe. Thank you, students, for watching this video.